Hey, this is JD, the REGEEKERY podcast. This is my first attempt at the video review. Personally, I think Brian's went pretty well, and so I'm going to try my hand at this now. I was initially going to do a Transformer review, but in the review that Brian posted, he mentioned that he can't stand Transformers toy reviews with shitty guitar intros, and uh, I since I lack the capability anyways to put a shitty guitar intro, I figure I'll just do a G.I. Joe review instead. No, seriously. There's no way I would do a video review, at least for my first one, of anything but a G.I. Joe figure. Because G.I. Joe has been in my blood since 1982. So, I have tattoos to prove it. See, I've got the Arashikage clan tattoo, as does Brian, and I have, that's right, the G.I. Joe Eco Warriors tattoo. So, in essence, yes, I am a giant nerd for G.I. Joe. And, yeah, there's basically no way that I would have done anything here except for G.I. Joe to start with. So, typical in the REGEEKERY, and before that, general geekery repartee, there's, I believe I'm going to have to do this guerrilla style, renegade style, whatever they call it. Shitty production values, but I'm going to say what I have to say. So, and much like in Brian's review, if you get motion sickness, well, I can't help that. Because I'm not even trying to pause this thing ahead of time. So, I'm going to get this thing started. My first review is going to be of the figure subscription service figure of Sure Fire. I may very well have been one of the only collectors that was excited about Sure Fire when the lineup was announced, but that's because I really liked the 2000, 2001, 2002 new Joes that were introduced, and Sure Fire was on that list. I really liked him, and I didn't really care about the politics behind it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with that, I'm not going to be the one to explain it. So, without much more ado, here's the review. I am not going to detail the articulation, because if you played with a G.I. Joe in the last 7 years, aside of a couple of the first wave retaliation figures that had slightly reduced articulation, you know how G.I. Joes move. I don't need to detail all that. There are plenty of other reviews on the internet, on YouTube, on people's personal web pages that review G.I. Joes that'll tell you, oh, this is how the arms move, this is how the legs move. You don't need any of that shit. I'm just going to share my thoughts on the figure, and I will explain where they fit into my universe, which heretofore I will call the NFC verse, because anybody who knows me on most of the Joe boards, I go by Night Force Cynic, NFC for short, so that's what I name my verse. It's heavily G.I. Joe, but I do have other things peppered into it. And Sure Fire is not a character that I had worked in before, but now that I have the figure subscription service, and I happily subscribed, now that I have Sure Fire, who I was excited to get, does it match my expectations? Yes. I just need to work out a place where he fits in. I do like the fact that he's the Army's Criminal Investigation Division. That was a really cool role for a Joe to play, and we had never gotten that before 2000. So, here goes. And there he is. There's Sure Fire. Sure Fire, basically, well, I like the colors. He's based on Sure Fire version 2, from 2002, with the brighter green pants, the brown leather-like finish to his vest and straps, and he's got the light, well, I guess you would call that pea soup green shirt. Initially, there was a weird quality control snafu on Sure Fire where this sleeve was actually unpainted straight out of the package. Well, I fixed that because I have my own paint, so I can do that shit. Why the hell is this all blurry? I don't know, but I can't figure it out. So, yeah, he's got the armband that says he's CID, which is pretty fucking awesome. Frankly, I think the Joes need characters that can do police work for the military branches within GIJoe. Yeah, the character, I mean, there's not much to him, really. The recipe is he's the 30th anniversary law figure for the upper half, including the vest and the arms. The lower legs belonged initially to the Resolute Duke figure, and actually, I guess just about everybody from Resolute used those legs eventually, minus Roadblock and Scarlet, obviously. But I think the recipe works. I think it's nice. I always like the leg mold. The feet are a little small, but that doesn't bother me too much. The head, I think that his head may have come from the 2002 Shipwreck figure. It's the one that came with the boat. He wasn't a sailor. He looked more like a seal. He was wearing blue. I think the head may be a reworked version of that, or a remolded version, but I don't know for sure. Supposedly, this figure does look a lot like David Lane, but I don't know. I've never seen him in person. I think the figure works. I've seen criticisms of, like, the badge is too big. That was a big criticism back when this was law, but I don't care about that stuff. I mean, it's not big enough to annoy me, so I didn't feel the need to fix it. If figures have issues that I don't like, I usually just fix them because I'm a customizer, but this one didn't bother me too much. There's really there's not a lot to this guy. He's not wearing his helmet because the helmet that he included was real soft plastic, so it was super misshapen, straight out of the package. So until I find a better helmet for him, he's just gonna have to go helmetless. But that's all right because he's usually in an office. He's perfectly safe there. So basically, with Sure Fire, what I'm going to do with him in my verse is I've got a law enforcement team, and I think I'm just going to have him be one of the heads of that. Not a lot to it yet. My favorite Joe ever is Bulletproof, and he was originally the 1992 DEF leader, but Bulletproof transcends that role. For my verse, he's a U.S. Marshal. Well, he's gonna run my GIJoe internal police division, but I think Sure Fire is gonna be his XO. So, all right, that's that for my first video review. Sorry about all the shaky cam. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just experimenting, but I will be back actually very shortly with another review. Till then, check out our podcast. You can find it at Buzzsprout as REGEEKERY, and you can follow REGEEKERY podcast on Twitter, but you're only talking to me on that. That is my Twitter. And you can find us on Facebook. Just do a search for REGEEKERY podcast. With that, folks, I'm out.